One of the easiest ways to improve your grade and your performance, your happiness really, taking a course in higher education is to learn how to read and use the syllabus.
Speed. Marker. And action.
Are you saying I'm stupid?
No.
Do I look stupid to you?
I'm sorry.
Are you saying I'm stupid?
I'm sorry. I got it. No. Just do it again. I'm fine.
Are you saying I'm stupid?
Yes!
This is the 15th take. I cannot work like this. I will be in my trailer.
I need a break.
Yes, to pay attention to the right things, learn what you can ignore, keep yourself on a schedule, and figure out how it is that you can successfully complete a course and get a better grade. Hi, I'm James Callahan, and this is The Do-Over Show, and I've been working in higher education for, more than 20 years. I was a young teacher once, and I learned, I made a lot of mistakes, but I didn't have a lot of help. And one of the things that I've been able to do in my career as a tenure-track professor, and then later as an adjunct in 8 or 9 colleges and universities, public, private, grad school, undergrad, working with required classes and senior seminars, is to be able to help not only myself, but help new teachers, new professors, teach better, get better grades for their students. Yes, it is on us. If you're an adjunct, for example, and a lot of my viewers are, you realize that if you start failing students, if students underperform in your class compared to other classes, you're not going to be asked back. Now, it doesn't mean that you just inflate grades in order to keep your job, although I know who you are, but there are ways of actually improving the learning of our students in our courses as we teach them. And if we pay attention to the syllabus and use the syllabus as a tool, the way it's supposed to be used, your students will perform better and you'll perform better as a professor. So let's look at the details. Now, first of all, let's admit, the syllabi has become an unwieldy tool. For some colleges and universities, they treat it almost like a binding contract. Some actually have you sign that I've read this and I've agreed to it and I'll keep the schedule, and if I don't, I'm going to fail the course, I'll get a letter deduction in my grade. I know all of you that work in that way. I don't work that way. My university doesn't work that way. I teach in the humanities department, I teach religious studies, I teach nonprofit work, I teach history, and in all of those areas, so I'm in the part where you do a lot of reading, you do a lot of writing, and you take some tests. So my syllabus is going to be a little different than if you're in STEM projects, for example. Now, pay attention to what happens in a syllabus. Most of us think that the most important stuff is right here at the top, the course description, the learning objectives, what the outcomes are you're supposed to achieve. Absolutely essential to a professor, absolutely meaningless to most students, especially if it's a required class, if they have to take your class. Let's be honest, most of us think that if our class was required for everyone, the world would be a better place. And we spend the first class trying to explain to our students how important this class is, when it's really just an exercise in ego. We're trying to justify our own role as teachers and our course material and what we've spent years and years of our lives studying some obscure topic. Students are there in order to reach a goal. The goal is usually to fulfill a requirement, a prerequisite for another course or for their major, or to count in their number of courses to reach a minor. That is, most students are in a course for a utilitarian end. That's not why most of us teach. Most of us teach because we have this love and we think this is important. Instead of thinking, I've got to help my students get a job, learn how to use this material. So let's actually look at what it is. Now, if you're a student, the most important thing to you is usually the last page. On that last page, you're going to find a schedule which includes test dates, readings, assignment dates, are there quizzes, what readings are done in preparation for a course, all of that on the last page. My recommendation is you go to the course schedule, use an AI tool or do it manually, build a calendar and reverse engineer your next 3 or 4 months of your life around this schedule and incorporate your other courses in that too. Look ahead and see, okay, this is due here, this is due there. And then as you go through and build that reverse engineering, you start to knock off the projects one after another. Now, a lot of what happens in a syllabus these days are those distracting things that have to be there. Maybe there's a mask policy. Maybe there's an inclusion and non-discrimination policy. Maybe there's a Oh, sexual harassment and retaliation policy. Maybe there's an academic integrity policy. There's a statement of student etiquette and netiquette. There's a code of academic integrity that is what it means to perform at an academic level. There's support and resources for students, maybe a learning center, maybe those things. All of those things, if you need them, they're in every syllabi. That's not why you're in the course, though. If you discover in the course, for example, that there's tutoring available and how you access that tutoring, that is more important than any of the things I've just mentioned to you, because that's going to help you successfully complete the course. And by the way, here's the other approach that I use as a teacher in a course for non-majors in a required course. In each and every class, I show them by actually using the syllabus. I display part of it. I refer to an upcoming topic or test or paper or assignment. I work through this. I give them examples of it, what a successful project looks like. I help them through their own schedule, building their schedule. You see, one of the differences between college and high school, and this is a tough lesson for most young adults to learn, is that in college you really have to schedule your own life. In high school, everything is scheduled. The bell rings, you go from class to another class, and your life is dictated to you. But in college, you got to learn to do it for yourself. They still need that skill set. Most 18 to 24-year-olds are just learning what it's like to build their own schedule. Help them through that and use the syllabus to accomplish that. So what's the next thing I do besides referring to it in every class? Not over the whole thing, but what's over next? Bits and pieces, bite-sized things. I also go through things like, are there evaluations? Now, I know in teaching, a lot of people hate being asked the question, excuse me, is this going to be on the test? We'd like to say everything's on the test because everything's important. But you and I know it's not. So I raised the question. I said, this would be a really good question on a test. How would we frame this? Give me a couple of examples. Take a minute. Let's write down a couple test questions based on the reading for today or the subject we've just been through. And I actually help them build what would be an exam question. And then they get to see how would a good answer tackle that question? What would be the elements? What would I need to answer this question successfully? It is, I get them to buy into it. Now, the other thing I do is, of course, I go through the textbook. But for the textbook, I tell them why I chose this textbook. Now, every book is written for a reason. No, it's not that simple. What I mean is, there may be 1,000 books written on the topic, but this is the 1,001st book on the topic because the author and the publisher thought this was a new take on the topic. If I pick the book for that reason, I need to be honest, transparent with the students and tell them, here, this is the reason why I chose this book. This is what makes this book different. This is what this book is supposed to accomplish. This is what you're supposed to understand about this book. And I tell them, because most of us are never taught how to read a textbook. Because all those books that we assign, because we love, because they represent a perspective that we advocate for, or defend, or advance, all of those they're implicit in our choice of a book. So let's make it explicit. Now, obviously, the bulk, after we get through all the pro forma material of a syllabus, is going to be what assignments there are, tests, evaluations, quizzes, papers, projects, those kind of things. And we're going to spell them out. Now, in a syllabus that I use, it doesn't just say that you're going to have an exam. It says what the exam will be on. So they have to see ahead of time that what we're doing in the second week of class is going to be important in the 7th week or 8th week when there's a mid-course evaluation or exam. That is, I do tell them, here's what's coming. And I show them the way and I walk through the syllabus with that in mind. Here's something else that I can do. In humanities, I get to do this. There are a lot of disciplines where you can do this if you want to get them to get more buy-in as students. And that is, I make them pick a book. I assign one major textbook for each class, but then I make them find a book and get it approved by me that they're going to read 200 pages plus on the topic or in the field or on the subject that the course is covering. And I make them choose it. They all choose different books, some odd, some weird, some straightforward, never just a duplicate of the textbook, but something different, something specific, something focused. And I let them write a research report on it. Not a 6th grade thing where they say in chapter 1 it's this and chapter 2 it's that, but they give me a 1-page summary of the entire book and then they pick a topic or a chapter or a theme within the book. Sometimes why this book was written in the first place when there are already hundreds of them on this topic. And then they get to dig deep and they do research on that and they use the book as the jumping point to dig deeper into a topic. Now, what does that do? Well, first of all, if they don't like the book, it's their fault because they chose it. So they have ownership of that. But the ownership continues because all of a sudden, they're going to know more about that part of our course than just about anybody else in the class, including me. And for the rest of their life, they're going to know more about that topic than anybody that they meet. Great conversation at a party, first date. What are you interested in? You just need to shoot the breeze for 5 minutes. Can I tell you about something I learned in college? It's something that lasts, it stays with students. Students that did it 10, 15 years ago still tell me that it's a subject of interest to them, or they're happy that they have something to be able to talk about. But what's different about it is even in a history course where you're surveying hundreds of years, when you give them something concrete and real, something that actually has roots in a time, in importance, in significance that other people have heard about, that there may be a Wikipedia page about, they learn it, they retain it, and they have ownership or buy-in. It's a fantastic tool. You should try it. Or you should suggest it to a prof. After you take a course and you say, this course could have been better, try this. Now, one last help in going through the syllabus, besides using it every week, showing the students how to use a syllabus as a tool rather than just a contract or obligation that they have to follow, is that when you dig into the syllabus itself, you start to tell stories. You explain why this is required. You tell them why writing this project or doing this visit or working together on this subject will be important, or how it can translate into a transferable skill for the workforce, what they're going to do when they start getting paid to do this kind of work rather than paying the school that pays you to learn these kind of things. And it is show them what will happen in their life or what's possible, what transferable skills. Let's face it, the majority of people who major in a field in college or university do not do that job for the rest of their life. That is, it's a small percentage that actually work in the field that they are a major in. It's more common in STEM, but less common in any of the humanities or liberal arts. So you have to show them, explain to them, here's a transferable skill. You're going to learn how to problem solve. One of the most important things that an employer is looking for. Can they see a problem and solve it? Can they find out how to solve a problem? Do they have the resources? Do they have the imagination? Do they have the ability to be agile and to work through a problem rather than just throw up their hands and say, well, it's a problem? The next thing about transferable skills is that you usually have to learn to work with somebody else. Group projects are ordinary default in this, but active learning is even better. That is, take those moments, break into your lecture, your presentations, and actually get some interaction. Ask a student, hey, give me 2 minutes. Go ahead, tell us everything you know about this topic. Or write test questions. Let's create a test together. You still control it, but you get them to buy in and you get them to imagine what a question could be. And then at the end of the course, don't punish them. Don't manipulate them. Don't inflate their grade. If you work on the syllabus and show them how to use it as a tool, and if you as a student take this up and look at it and say, this is a tool that will help me get a better grade if I learn how to use it, and I reverse engineer that schedule to structure the next 3 months of my life, you'll get a better grade because of it. Hey, and thanks for being part of the Do Over Show. Please, could you tap the like button? Because it really helps. And while you're down there, how about you subscribe and ring the notifications bell so you don't miss the next episode. I'm so glad you found me and that I found you. Thanks.